Good evening. This is Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. It is the Board of Public Works meeting, and we are holding it in the DPW conference room at 965 Plain Street. We are being recorded by Marshfield Community Media. And our agenda for tonight includes an appointment at 6:15 for Kevin McDonough / Waterman Extension, Juniper Road to Bowles Road. We also have actions items associated with the drain layer license renewals, septic hauler permit renewals, Survey Avenue water and drainage contract, change order number 1 for the temporary water bypass, change order number 2 replacing sewer main laterals on Sewer Ave prior to replacing water main and drainage work, and contract 2021-06 extension for Cape Wind Water Works, NBC Distributors, TRI Sales, Ferguson Waterworks, Stiles Company, and Worthington Gas, all of which provide materials for both wastewater and for water. And then we have discussion of potential STM articles. We will vote to accept the minutes of the November 21, 2022 open meeting. And we have the superintendent's report. And then the next meeting was saying February 6th, which should still be accurate. We have a second on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let's start with the drain layer renewals.
I'm trying to turn it down. Just got this one.
All right, this is our annual drain layer license renewals. The following is the list submitted for applicants to renew their license. And that would be Bob Biagini from Biagini Inc., James Rourke, All Town Inc., Kevin Powell, Powell Construction, Robert Clancy, Clancy Construction Company Inc., Leo Stickney, Cobra Enterprises, Don Tippett, Weed and Feed Inc., Michael McDougal, McDougal Brothers, and Antonio Arrea from Arrea Brothers. Jay Parker has renewed these, and he approves the renewal.
I have no problem with this, Mr. Chairman.
Likewise, they're all basically people we've had before, so I move to renew the licenses for the attached, for the list as read by the superintendent. Do I have a second?
Yeah, for 2023.
For 2023, yes.
Right, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Okay. Number 2, which is the septic haulage permits.
Hold on to that.
Septic haulage permits. The list is for the 2023 renewal permits. James Rourke of All Town Inc., Albert Wood Jr., Fred Nava and Sons, P.F. Spencer Jr. Inc., Peter Spencer Jr., Warren Bush, Little Dryden Enterprises, Richard Chavez, Bay State Sewerage, Paul Davis, Rosano Davis Sanitary Pumping, and Joseph Aiello, Avon Septic and Pumping.
I have no problem with this, Mr. Chairman.
Likewise, I'll move it. The Board of Public Works votes to renew the septic hauler permits for 2023 and authorizes chairman to sign the permits as approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Get a good view in the back of my head.
Bob's on time again.
Does the public get to ask any questions on these things or what?
If you wish to have some, but...
I do. I have a question on the septic renewal.
Okay.
So do we license people to dump sewage into the Brant Rock sewage station that isn't Marshfield sewage?
In some cases it is, in other cases it may be from elsewhere, but we do rely on the septic pumping to help with the bacteria levels that are in the treatment system. And we do receive fees for it.
Yeah, but the fees can't begin to match the cost of doing it, right?
Yeah, we're designing it right, it did, and the last
It does
time we
give
had
us
the
some
renewals, they were okay, and we were meeting cost.
And what percentage is the sewage treatment plant running at?
I don't have the answer to that question sitting here, but we can get it to you.
We're at about 1.3, 1.2 out of 2.1.
I didn't know we were getting town sewage there. That's news to me.
Septic, not sewage. We also get some Duxbury, some Situate.
The problem is that, you know, I live down there, you know, when I go down that street, it's a pain in the ass to have more traffic than we need, and if we're gonna have out-of-town traffic, then we should make them really pay.
If you haven't noticed it yet, then it's really not an impact.
Believe me, I have noticed it
Oh, okay.
for
Yeah,
years.
that's why they were there. I didn't know.
What can we do
Mr.
about the
Chairman, if I
rate?
may,
Are you finished?
No, go ahead.
Steve?
So don't these...
Actually, Steve, you didn't give your name for the record, which you have.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So
Yep.
don't these people that are bringing sewage from other towns, don't they have their own sewage treatment plants that they can dump it at?
Not every town has sewage treatment plants, to my knowledge.
Oh, really?
You know, some towns are all septic systems. To
It's
answer
not
your
pushing
question,
us-
I do know, we did have higher traffic when Plymouth had all of its problems with its wastewater
Right.
plant.
And it's not, so it's not pushing us to the limit that you have to
No.
increase the capacity?
Not to my knowledge, and I'll defer to the superintendent.
No, it doesn't, as Rod said, we're at about 1.7 now,
We're about around 1.3 out of
1.3 out
2.1.
of
Yeah.
2.1.
Where does the revenue go?
The revenue goes into the enterprise division for wastewater to basically meet cost, as it does for all of the enterprise divisions, for whatever services we provide.
I just got my bill and I was surprised to see $500 for the sewer. I just never really paid attention to it, so we're not seeing any of that money from all the towns around us bringing their.
Well, that's a great deal for you. It was my sewer bill, my bill. was
Actually-
It's
700.
just, but it's me, it's just me.
Yeah, wait a
Mine
minute.
was 700.
And your name for the record, please?
Pam, I'm Pam Prista, 60 Central Street.
Okay. Go ahead, Bob, make your point.
My point is, the revenue that we get from the waste septic system haulers goes into the sewer fund,
Yeah.
which helps the ratepayer. It goes into the same fund. So we get revenue from another source than just people that are on the system.
Right, as long as the
And if
cost
you-
doesn't equal the
And
what it
being
costs
a,
to
being
treat
a
it.
wastewater engineer, you need to make up the bacteria that's good from septic systems to run your plant. Because when you're running the plant, you don't always get enough food to waste ratios. So you're always looking to augment it. You know, it's like Rid-X. If you put it in your septic system, you put Rid-X in it. It's the same type of thing. So that when you, so you need to make sure you get, so we said, no, we're not gonna carry any more septage. We're gonna be a problem about trying to meet our percentage of cleanup going into the ocean. So what staff is doing is they have a lab and they maintain, and they balance off what the bacteria is, what the food is coming in, because a lot of times you would have, and there is leaky sewer systems, and you get a lot of groundwater that's in there that really will kill your bacteria off.
It dilutes it.
So you
Not
have to,
because the sewage treatment trucks that are dumping there is more pure sewage than what you're getting in the system, right?
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
It's
Sometimes.
heavily loaded, yeah.
Yeah.
so you have to balance it up. So to answer your question about your sewer bill, actually these waste haulers are actually augmenting and reducing your bill.
Yeah. And
Not by much, but it is.
About $56.
And I mean, basically, as part of our annual review on rates, you know, engineering works with wastewater plant, looking at that, looking at the costs adjacent to it, so that we have a balance between where our pricing is to get the beneficial bacteria in, but also to meet our costs. That is done each year with the rate review. And, you know, as Bob pointed out, you know, the issue we have with the full wastewater stream
So you
coming
wouldn't
in
get
is-
enough bacteria if you didn't have sewage treatment trucks dumping there?
Well,
What I'm
we're
saying?
constantly working.
We would have a problem.
We're constantly
All right.
working to try and keep
I
the
didn't understand
infiltration
that.
and in leakage down.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, thanks for,
Oh,
something to do.
Name for the record, please.
I just wanted to point out that you do have an annual rate review,
Yes.
and they do charge these people, is it per gallon? How much they dump in?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Like 7 cents.
Okay, we're just short of 6:15. What do we have left?
The Surf Ave walk.
We could do, yeah, we tackle Surf Ave change orders, and then it would be time for our appointment. Rod handling that, or you, Tom?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, put that in there.
This is contract is Diggett LLC from Dennis, Mass. The start date was delayed due to the delay in availability of ARPA funding last spring, and the contractor has agreed to start the project in August based on his availability and the gas company's planned completion date. None of that worked out. Rather than work alongside with the gas company,
This
the
is,
contractor decided to postpone and
Thanks, Dave.
start work in the spring. Change order number one, the town's request the contractor Diggett to provide a cost estimate to provide a temporary bypass to allow for continuous water service and fire protection in the area during construction. The town was originally going to install the bypass by contractor before Diggett start date in the spring of '22 in order to expedite the construction. The delays in funding made the start date uncertain, so the bypass work was never initiated. Work provided by Diggett for the bypass installation. The maintenance, including maintenance during the project, is $41,106. You want to vote on them separately, or?
I got a motion that combines the two.
Yes, I'm okay with that if the rest of the board is.
yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Proceed.
Okay.
So go to number two.
So, number two,
Change order number two, sorry.
change order number two, the town requests the contractor Diggett to provide cost estimates to include replacing sewer connections at 15 locations along Surf Ave within the road layout, which were not included in the original scope of work. Recent sewer work in the area revealed the AC sewer pipe in areas of high groundwater may be deteriorated to the point where it can't be lined and will require replacement. The estimated cost to replace the sewer connection is $224,400. Funding at special town meeting, Article 11, was for $1 million, and the staff recommendation is to temporary bypass. Staff prefers that Diggett install and maintain it during the project and retain total responsibility of the temporary bypass to avoid work stoppages and interfere with the contractor's work and schedule. The cost estimated provided by Diggett is about $11K higher to install than what we estimated using in-house forces and by subcontract, and it excluded maintenance of the bypass. The additional cost is reasonable when you consider risk involved and work required to maintain the bypass during construction. The town will dispose of all AC pipe. Sewer connections, the town obtained a cost estimate from another contractor, N. Granisi, which was slightly higher than Diggett's estimate. Our preference would be to have Diggett do the work to take advantage of the dewatering system proposed for Surf Ave and to avoid work interferences by scheduling two different contractors. And the motion is the next paragraph.
Okay,
I'm okay with this.
doing my arithmetic, that means we are actually voting tonight for a total additional to the contract of $265,506.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, this all makes sense to me, so I guess we're going to do it as, did you make it a final change order for the total amount, Rob?
There's two separate change orders.
Okay, so we're
and the
doing voting on
motion
each
is
one.
two separate motions, or two separate, includes two separate change orders.
I move that we approve change order number one for an increase to the contract of $41,106 for the bypass work and like.
Second.
Do I have, all in favor? Aye. Motion number two, change order increases the value of Diggett Construction LLC as described by the superintendent, raising the cost by $224,400. Total contract price will be $150,079.96. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
I have the question on the funding. Where, the total funding is 1.7 from ARPA and $1 million from town, so the town has 2.7 for the total project?
No, the 1 million is from the sewer work that we got appropriated in the last
STM.
fall, SDM,
Yeah.
for sewer work in the sewer area to replace sewer lines. So we're adding that, that scope of work, but we're paying that out of the sewer.
The sewer part, okay.
Sewer part. The 1.7 was just for water and drainage.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Rod.
All right, we have an appointment for Mr. Kevin McDonough, water main extension on Juniper Road to Bowles Road. Is that you, sir?
That is me.
The floor is yours.
If anybody wants to help me out with that one.
Why don't you sit down?
Appreciate it.
Take a seat.
Sit down and you can
Yep.
make it easier than standing up, especially you only have one hand.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
We've all been there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Proceed.
Okay, so what I'm here for tonight is just to seek some relief on a recommendation from the water department. I have 2 lots at the end of Juniper Road, down towards Hummerock.
What's his name?
It's the road immediately adjacent to St. Christine's Church.
His name is Kevin McDonough.
Kevin McDonough.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, I know that, but, you know.
Okay, so currently the water main stops the water main on Juniper stops 1 or 2 lots prior to the 2 lots that I'm going to be building on. I do have to extend the road anyway. I have spoken with Rod a couple times that apparently that's a dead-end water main, which you have to service, excuse me, or clean out every year, and it's the town's wish to bring the water main through. My problem is, it's only 2 lots that I'm building on. The cost for me to bring a 6-inch water main through to connect to Bowles Road to another 6-inch water main is well over $20,000. When I purchased the lots, I went down and checked at the water department to see what I had in front of me before I made my offer on the lots, and the town records show the water mains in front of both of my lots. However, apparently it is not. Obviously, I based my bid on the lots on the fact that I didn't have to put a water main in, and now I'm stuck with having to put a water main in. I had originally proposed to just have 2 taps off of Bowles Road and run water services to my 2 lots, which are well under 150 feet, and water services go 150 feet plus on a regular basis for a 1-inch water service, which would solve my problem as far as getting me water. It just doesn't solve the town's problem as far as looping the water main. So what I'm proposing is, first of all, I would like to not have to do a water main at all, but if I do have to do it, the town, we're proposing a 2-inch water main extension from Juniper Road over to Bowles Road, which there's an attached letter from Grady Consulting that says that would serve the purpose of looping the water main in terms of sediments and not having a dead-ended water main. If the town wanted more than the 2-inch water main, I would look for that the town supply the water main, and I can supply the equipment to dig the trench, and either the town can lay the water main while I'm doing my road, or I can talk to my contractor about actually doing the water main. But to saddle me with both, I think is a little bit unfair. I only have 2 lots that I'm accessing. Both of them can easily get water from either the dead-ended water main or Bowles Road. And extending the water main doesn't serve me any purpose. I understand it serves the town's purpose of looping the water main, which I have no problem with, but I'm just looking for a little relief of having to swallow $20,000 in unexpected expenses had the town record show that that water main didn't go through in the first place.
I guess my first question is, what records show the water main went through? Because I can remember that being dead-ended back in 2007 to 11 timeframe.
I'm not sure, but I can go down and check.
Well, I'm just curious if there was
Yeah,
something,
that's the
if there's
first
an
I heard that
inaccuracy
that was
there,
The argument.
I need to straighten it out.
There was always a bleeder on that I
Yeah.
knew of.
Yeah, and I know the water department was fully aware of it. I don't know where you got your information. Did it
I
come out of the planning board?
believe it shows it on the assessor's maps that the town draws their water
Okay,
mains on.
yeah, the assessors maps are not always accurate to that type of data when it comes to in-ground services. A lot of times they're based on plans that never got finished,
Okay.
regrettably. I'm sorry
Yeah,
that
no,
that
no,
happened.
and I get that, I understand that.
Okay. My position on this is basically that, I do not have an issue myself with the idea that we provide, material. I did do a review with both the superintendent and the town engineer when this first came up, and, basically the 200-odd feet of 6-inch water main that are current for the rest of my board's information. It's going at about $21 a foot for the Class 52 pipe, and basically it would sum up to about $4,200 odd as the cost for the material from the town. Preferable to have your contractor do the work.
Okay.
Okay, because basically, if we bring in a contractor, probably our pricing and yours are, one would be above the other perhaps because our contractor is under the state prevailing wage.
Oh, I didn't know, I was thinking your guys would actually attach it, the town
Well,
guys, but
that
that's
depends
not the
on
case.
what other work is going on at the time.
Right, right.
If there's
Your availability.
emergencies, we get pulled away, and that impacts you from a developer
Time delay,
standpoint,
yep.
trying to coordinate things. So I guess I would move that, we would grant the material and the work to be performed by the developer.
Could I ask one more question?
Sure.
If that being the case, if you want to go with the 6-inch instead of the 2-inch,
Yep.
I've already paid for water taps for Bowles Road.
Yep.
Can I get that money refunded to me since I'm be tapping into a water main that I'm installing? I'm looking for any relief I
Yeah,
can
no,
get here, just because I got overpaid on
Actually,
this.
if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
Our rules and regulations require an 8-inch main, and when his conversation with Paul Duras, the superintendent, the supervisor of water, he said that he would be willing to let them put a 6-inch.
Right.
All right, and that's because of fire protection.
Yeah.
You have to have a minimum of 6.
And we
So-
have granted a couple of other locations at the
Correct.
similar pipe size, which
Correct.
I was aware of.
So, I mean, every new resident is charged a fee for
Connection
water
fee.
connection, so that's something that Paul will have to deal with.
But I'm picturing if we already have approved connections coming off of, Bowles, right?
Yeah.
Then all we're doing is changing the location of those connections, where you wouldn't be hit a second fee on
Right.
top of that.
Right,
Right.
right, yeah,
Okay.
that I
That's
understand,
what you're
yeah.
looking for?
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense, yeah.
You charge a separate service connection for each one.
Right.
To
Right.
everybody.
And, right,
But we're not charging them any more to,
correct.
To move the permits from one
Right.
spot to another, basically.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the fees you've paid will cover the relocation.
Okay.
Am I correct on that, gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So what exactly are you proposing?
What we're proposing is that we will provide the 6-inch ductile iron pipe that will connect to the existing water main on Juniper, running down and making the connection to Bowles. And the connection on Bowles, I presume, would be on the water department itself.
That will make the loop,
Yeah, that will give us a loop, which is always an
and
advantage.
he's gonna install it.
He'll install a run. I would picture we would pick up, at some point, we would pick up the final connection where it joins Bowles, rather
Yeah.
than the contractor.
Yeah, if I could just get materials, I'll take it from there. Like I said, I'm just trying to be fair about it.
Yep. So, I mean, I think, all we need to do is give that guidance to staff. I don't know that this requires a specific vote, but we can.
So and then on top of that,
Yeah,
he's gonna follow the regular process for hooking
Correct.
into the water.
Correct.
Which is the fees.
We'll make the connections at Bowles.
Right,
yeah,
at the
okay.
bottom.
whatever else
Yes.
is.
So the only relief you're getting is we're gonna give you the material to put it.
correct, yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I'm fine. No, that's-
Okay.
So we'll-
I make a motion
Prevents
that
a dead
as
end,
discussed,
so-
we will provide the 6-inch ductile iron water main and the physical work and services, with the exception of the connection to the water main at Bowles, will be by the developer.
All right, we'll work with the developer.
Right.
How
And we will
many-
cooperate with it.
You want to list how many feet we're gonna supply?
It is a nominal 200 feet,
Yeah.
is what's shown, and that comes to a current cost for our piping at $4,200.
Correct, okay.
Plus or minus, we're not gonna keep.
Yeah. But you would just check the footage on that, Rod, to make sure we got it right on the length?
It's like 220 or something.
Okay,
like that.
yeah, yep.
You want a second?
So I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Now, where are we?
So we're on number 4.
Yep, we are on number 4, which is the wind, water, et cetera, services and supplies.
These are the extensions for materials. We have a couple here. First is Cape Cod Wind Water Waterworks. This is extension of the contract for waterworks materials and supplies between the Town of Marshfield Department of Public Works and Cape Cod Wind Water Works Company. This is usually, these parts are solid sleeves, brass, different, well, this one isn't the brass, but this would be pipe, valves and sleeves.
Compression couplings.
Compressed, yeah, right. Extension the next is with NBC Distributors, which is chlorine and lime contractor. Remove that one. The next is Thai Sales, our meter and meter pots supplier. The other is Ferguson Waterworks. They too are the solid sleeves in different pots, corpse and gate boxes and things like that. Styles is the brass fittings and Wrightington is the gas contractor, all up for renewal. I want to take each one individually.
And just for people's education, that is propane supply, which is for our heating systems where we have them, and also for the emergency generators.
Emergency generators, heating at the well sites. Correct.
We don't have to do them, we can do them all as a group, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Just the signatures have to be individual.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion for the contracts of 2021-06 extensions for waterwork materials and supplies, Cape Cod Wind. First one is for Cape Cod Wind Water Works. The second is for NBC Distributors. The third is for TI Sales. That is a mistype, right? The
I-
TRI.
It's supposed to be Thai.
TI Sales, yep. Ferguson Waterworks, Styles Company, and Wrightington Gas Company Incorporated. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, that's done. Okay, 4. We are now on to discussion on potential special town meeting articles.
No, nothing there.
No, we didn't have anything, and this is to open it up for discussion, because we do have the STM opening at the end of the month.
February 2nd?
Second, that's right, just, yeah, should remember that date.
This head was involved, yeah.
Would you take it if you want?
So, I mean,
All right.
yeah, I guess the question is, we have, do we want to try to act on anything that we haven't been able to get funding for in this current fiscal year that we would need to carry forward? I guess I'm deferring to both of you gentlemen first.
We need money for roads,
Yeah,
We don't really have
big time.
anything,
Yeah.
I mean, other than that section of sidewalk up on Old Main,
Okay, yeah.
where we left off.
I've got a plan that just was presented to me for Willow Street for some takings, widening, so we can
Right.
get the sidewalk.
Okay,
That's
question
not
on
right.
you're talking Old Main Street running down to the fire station when you're talking in the hills, right?
Right.
Okay, and I guess my question there is, that would have been in the capital.
It was, we did request it in capital.
Okay, and
it
it's
was
not being
shot.
supported.
It wasn't supported.
Okay, so we do have an avenue there for that funding by basically a motion from town meeting floor to include it in the capital. Okay. And that would be basically done under probably the town roadway budget article.
We don't have any roadway money.
We did put a request in.
We did, we didn't
Okay.
get any.
Okay, that's, town meeting floor still has the opportunity to adjust that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And that was 300,000 as it was in the past?
We asked for 300.
Okay.
Yeah, that's normally what we ask for to supplement our chapter 90 money.
If I remember rightly, let's hypothetically, motion from town meeting floor to include that in the capital budget passed, then we would have basically, the 300,000, presuming that was the number that was called from the floor. If I recall correctly, the Hill sidewalk is someplace in the $40,000 to $50,000 range, because it's just basically a smooth coating on top with a few spots we're having to
Right,
fix.
it's a berm and a sidewalk.
And then,
couple driveway aprons.
That would leave us some additional money for other work elsewhere, if we actually can get an approval for that.
No, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
There's plenty of roads to
Yeah.
try to
And-
maintain,
yeah.
and one of the, we were told that we had to pave a parking lot at the schools.
Yeah, remember that.
And I can't get money to take care of the 200-plus miles of roads that I have, never mind pave a school parking lot, and although the school gets $100,000 in paving.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, that,
So does that come out of our budget?
Well, we don't get any money for paving.
they had a budget, but as I recall, they exceeded the budget, and we had to pick up the difference.
No, we
Wasn't it?
didn't pick up the
Oh, we did not,
difference.
okay.
They had $100,000 and they exceeded the $100,000 on the project that they did at the government.
They found someplace
Winchell's.
else in their nest
But
egg
they
to
were
take
able
care
to
of it.
find the additional funds to
Shocking.
pick up the extra costs.
But how about the residents?
They get screwed.
There you
Well,
go.
I mean,
It's true.
I mean, I'm perfectly prepared to basically do what we did last year, the annual town meeting, where something that should be budgeted, that requires, the funding. And I mean, and the reality is, if we get that funding, we have the option of either our contractor, that we have on, because he's state approved, so he might be a little higher rate than maybe hiring a local guy, or even for some of the smaller work, doing it with own force.
Right, actually our paving, we're in the Plymouth Consortium,
Right.
so we're in with a group, so
Yeah.
our pricing is pretty good
Yeah.
with paving. But if we don't get any money to pave, it
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter what
doesn't do us any
contractor
good
did.
at all.
Yeah.
So, I
Okay.
mean, we've got, we had a couple roads paved this fall. Have Ocean Street is on the schedule for the spring.
Yep.
Possibly, we've got a number of roads we
Yeah.
need to address.
But I mean, those are all basically, they're eligible for the funding from the Mass Highway, DOT, right?
All the accepted roads.
All the accepteds are, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that this gives us an advantage to is if we need to do something supplemental elsewhere, we can do it, physically have the funding.
Right, I
Yeah,
mean,
and-
that's what's helpful.
And extend a couple of more miles of roadway paving.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's, I'm prepared to be the guy that the selectmen consider a villain again.
Even if it passes, it doesn't mean it'll happen.
If it passes town meeting, capital-wise, it goes forward. They don't have, that's not an executive privilege thing. The negative to it is a two-edged sword. They'll probably try to find some way to take it out of our budget anyway.
Somewhere else,
Yeah.
so that's,
But if we play it right and get the operating budget done first,
So Tom, on the STM articles, that's money that we need to have
For this
before
year.
July 1st.
yes.
okay, right now, we don't have anything identified, but I mean,
So
we
we
should
don't
be
have
looking at that and,
We put a placeholder in.
Well, the
We could put a
special is
placeholder, yeah,
usually
we
for
always
an
do.
emergency,
Yeah.
if we miss the deadline for anything with the regular annual town meeting,
yeah,
we can get it on the special.
in the fall, yeah, that's
Right.
usually the case. But I mean, for the spring, if there's an unexpected, capital project that's needed for highway, trees, whatever, cemetery, we would put it on this special, so we'd be able to spend it in the current fiscal year.
Correct.
And if necessary, roll it over into the
You know,
current fiscal year.
Once staff sees what the rubbish contract, if it looks like we're gonna, have issues there with tonnage and stuff, that's when we usually try to put something in
Yep,
at the special, but as of right now, we don't see any issues.
okay. I just wanted to see if there was anything on Ford should be considering.
So when does the ATM start?
End of the month.
24th, I think.
Yeah, it
It's the 24th, isn't it?
it closes on the 23rd. I have the notebook here.
That's,
It's basically closed, you can submit up to the end of business on the 23rd, then you're out of line. For the annual.
But that's what I was just gonna say, the special.
The special doesn't start until February.
Correct, yeah.
Yep.
I would-
Dave, maybe an article in the special might be for the appraisals for the Willow Street properties.
Okay.
That might be something, Rod and I are gonna look into that a little bit more.
That you need to have before July 1st.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
I mean, that was the issue. So it opens on February 2nd?
And this is what's associated with the Willow Street Bridge reconstruction.
Replacement, yeah.
In order to have the appraisals prior to next
Right.
fall, we'll ask, hopefully that'll be ready. He didn't want to move ahead with them. He's got the layout, I just got him
Okay.
on Thursday. But
All right, so that'd be good.
it'll be ready for next fall, but we get the appraisals done beforehand, so we know the number to put in the article that falls.
All right,
So then when does the annual town meeting article?
January
23rd.
23rd.
January 23rd, they're closed.
24th.
Yeah, the end of business.
January 24th?
Is it 24th?
What, next week?
I think it's Tuesday that at 4
The
o'clock.
Tuesday is the 24th, sure,
Yeah.
but I had it down as a note on my calendar that it was, I thought, closing on the 23rd, which is that Monday.
I thought they moved it to
Well,
one
they may
day
have.
because of the holiday.
Oh, that's true, that is- yeah,
So-
because of the
we all
Martin
set with
Luther
that?
King holiday, yeah, that would
Yeah.
make sense.
All right, let's move on. Minutes.
Okay, minutes.
I'm all right with the minutes. Thanks, Anne Marie.
Thank you,
Yep.
Sean. Dave, there were executive session minutes, and I forgot to list them on the agenda, but
Yep.
I put them in the minutes.
Yeah, I saw them.
Okay.
I had no problem with either set of minutes.
Me neither.
Bob, you all set?
I'm all set.
Okay. I move that we accept the open and executive session minutes from November 21st, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Yeah, but executive, doing executive now.
I just put them both at the same time.
All right,
Sorry. Guess you didn't hear
I'm
me.
fine.
Sorry, John.
that's all right.
Maybe I wasn't loud enough.
That's all
Usually
right.
don't get accused of that.
That's okay.
Okay, superintendent's report. You're on, Tom.
Yes, thank you. Repair Mayflower and Country Way flooding, we were out there last week, with the Vacta, we backed it out, the 5 catch basins at the corner of Country Way and Mayflower. We have an old plan that shows a manhole that we can't find. We did 7 or 8 test pits to try to find the manhole, and we couldn't find the manhole. There's nothing from that intersection of Mayflower back to Ocean Street. The old plan from '72 shows it as a trunk line. We can't find it.
We're gonna have to do something because
I
that's a
think
war
what,
zone.
right, what, I think we have, they're all daisy chained all the way
Right.
down the hill. So, there's one that feeds in the intersection of Mayflower, there's one that feeds the left-hand side, and then that one's supposed to go across, but we can't find the pipe there. One comes out of somebody's yard,
Yeah,
and 2 of them are just leaching basins.
okay, yeah, so they don't do anything
So
in
they
that
don't,
area.
they don't do anything, and so what eventually we're gonna have to do is probably put a trunk line in from that intersection of Country and Mayflower and run a trunk line down to Ocean Street and tie it into that.
Bass Creek.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and eventually it would get to Bass
No,
Creek.
yeah, you do it.
There's a
That's-
15-inch RCP that runs in the gutter there, so we can tie, and then a little further up by Leon, it goes out
Okay.
in between, so.
When would that happen, Tom?
Well, right now, we can't dig now.
No, I
You
didn't.
know, but hopefully we do it in the spring, only because that intersection of Plymouth and Ocean is what we want to pave. And we want to coincide everything to work with the Surfab project, Mayflower,
Country.
Country,
Yeah,
and do
country's
Country
bad,
that's
yeah.
in really tough shape.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is that under our O&M budget, or is that in capital?
That's under our own owner.
Okay, okay, so we got that, okay.
Yeah.
Unless
So-
they shave that too.
Right,
In
no,
which case,
they,
we'll hit that at town meeting.
Yeah, no, that's,
Okay.
we understand, I know, John, you've been on top of this for a while, and we've been trying,
I know, I saw them down there.
we went down there, we tried, and at the same time, wastewater's out cameraing all the sewer mains in that whole area down there too.
And it is a bus stop.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's, the
They're
two,
beyond it.
the one, the basin from the yard that feeds across the street to the corner, both of them are already, those are the two leaching basins.
Yeah, leaching basins.
Yeah.
And both of them are already overflowing,
Yeah.
so.
Not surprising, unfortunately.
Priscilla Road, Circuit Ave West drainage, that's gonna be taken care of tomorrow, I believe.
Half of it.
Half of it tomorrow.
What are they gonna do, tie it into the,
They're tied in, they use that old water main, and they'll tie it, put an
Yeah.
overflow pipe in.
yeah, is it tied in down on surf, or is it
It will
just
be tied, it'll be.
eventually?
Yeah, there'll be a structure there, so any overflow, it'll go into the ground and then overflow into
Okay,
the
I understand.
system. I don't want it directly in,
Okay, yeah, that will get rid of that.
pop any
Black ice
covers or
that
anything
should
like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
so-
a big
Well,
grade
there's
tubes there.
still
You need it for
occasions where I
settling.
can picture with the, that area is just so
You-
low.
You need it for
It's gonna be
settling, as a settling basin.
Yeah, we can clean it out. There'll be
Yeah.
a sump there.
Yes, sir. Guardrails at Joseph Dravick Way, the 27th of the month, they're supposed to be out there starting those.
That's that company, what's the name of, I talked to Jimmy Kent about it.
Yeah, Premier Fence.
Yeah, they have the contracts.
They have
all
the
set.
contract, yeah, that's through that Plymouth consortium too.
Okay, so the
So
27th.
The 27th, they're supposed to get down there
Yeah,
and do
that's,
that.
that'll be good. Okay.
Ocean Bluff revetment. Give us an update on that, Ron?
Ocean Bluff revetment, so
Tomorrow is,
tomorrow, the consultant is going out to identify all the impacts to the resource areas. This was an issue brought up at the pre-application meeting for the MEPA process. We met with all the regulators, not all of them were there, but they were all invited. And there was a bunch of questions. One of the questions were that they provide more specific information regarding the impacts to the tidal pools and that whole resource area. And they've contacted the particular agency to get the specific information that they wanted. So that's what they're doing tomorrow. But it's been, it's been well over a month and a half since we met, and, it's slow going.
Did we get any monies from FEMA on the Nemo?
FEMA is in the loop on this, and I don't know how we're gonna be able to fit this in, whether or not we do it in phases. If we do it in phases, perhaps they'll participate. They wanna know what our schedule is, but we have permitting to do, and it's gonna take a while to get through all the permitting. They're anxious, but, they haven't even approved the money yet. So, I mean, it's going on, about the 2018 storm, and even
Yeah.
before that. There was damage in
2015, yeah.
2015
Yeah.
June.
Back to Nemo.
There was about $2 million worth of damage that we put in for that. And they're trying to sort it out, but we do have a contact, Misty Berman, who's a consultant that was working for the state, kind of shepherding the projects to try to push them along and to keep everything moving. And, we have to file various extensions all the time because we just can't, It's gonna be a big project. I mean, it's gonna cost a lot of money. I don't know if it's gonna get approved, but maybe we do in the first phase and FEMA participates. I mean, they were on the hook for about $6 million, I think, grand total. So if they participate, problem is getting the money from them. It takes years to get it.
It's been years since we've had the application in.
Again,
I
they
mean,
haven't approved of it.
it's been a long time since, years they take.
2018, they were
Yeah.
saying, they were asking me if I did any work on the Riley stuff, and we went and knocked out Ocean Street, the 50 Ocean Street, got that seawall cap done, and we went to Wrexham Road, the return wall at Wrexham Road, we got that done. And they're like, well, we haven't even approved of all this yet. And it's like, it's difficult to work with these people. Anyways, they're aware of it, they've seen the preliminary plans, and, it's the federal government. That's all.
And what's the total value of the revetment at Ocean Bluff?
Well, the latest one was about $35 million
35 million.
to do roughly 2,000 linear feet over.
I said this for you folks. It's a big number. It's a new school.
New school's not 35 million.
Well, the thing is, the daycare
15
center.
million.
How many bids do they get? Is it
So there's
just,
no
Oh, yeah,
bid yet. We're not
we have
even,
to
we're
bid it.
just in the
We're still
that's the estimate. We're not even in the process of figuring out how we're gonna get the full funding. What we're actually going to do, because there's a couple of different design alternatives that are out there. Which one's most efficient? And then that's why they're still looking at the resource areas, or what's going to be impacted. So it's basically a preliminary study design phase that we're trying to get to.
It'll be
But
in
we're looking at a big
It'll be in
number.
phases,
So the number's 35 million estimate, and then I heard the commissioner at the meeting for the selectmen the other night say that the dike is estimated at 20 million,
Oh, yeah.
and the Brant Rock is estimated at 20 million. So you're talking close to, well, do the math.
Where's that new school?
$80 million for,
So it is.
from the Ocean Bluff post office to the dike. That sounds fantastic.
Infrastructure is expensive.
Yeah, I think it's exaggerated.
Well, the
There's
thing,
no
is, you can
numbers on
exaggerate it all, it's still expensive.
Just a guess.
Because you have to,
It's a guess.
you have to do it what you have to do.
That's Eric Murphy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's been any
Supposed to speak
estimate for the dike. It's just the sluice way,
People don't know you.
and that was somewhere around 6 million. Just for the sluice way, not raising the dike. I don't know if any study's been done, any cost estimate done for that. But they carry, like, when they're in the design phase, they're carrying at least a 30% contingency. Just because it hasn't been permitted yet, you don't know when you're gonna construct it, so they carry a pretty hefty contingency. And as you move forward and get all that done, then they refine the contingency down to between 5 and 10% is what it usually is. So the numbers do start out
Sorry,
big, just
new
because
phone.
you just
I
don't
turned
know.
it down, but it didn't work.
Anything more on that?
Other than just an example, the Plymouth Ave, it's $5 million just to rehab the Plymouth Ave pump station. These numbers
So
are big.
what's wrong with the dike?
Um,
I mean, it flows every day.
It does. The sluiceway is all deteriorated all inside.
Oh, yeah.
Below the water line, all the concrete was all exposed, and we went and put in temporary, what do they call them, super studs or something like that. They bolted them in because it's supporting the slab up above. So that was done a couple of years ago. We just did the water main, the crossing in there, that AC main was.
I see you guys over there all the time. What do you do over there every month when they're on the other side, on the Bass River side?
Oh, we have to check the levels, and the Corps we meet with a Corps like every month.
I don't understand. When I was growing up, we used to dive off that dike every single day, and never did I see any DPW workers ever go near the place.
Well, since you were a kid and the regulations have changed with DEP and everyone
They want to
else.
know what the water levels are weekly. I mean, daily, we're out there. But lately it's because, we're getting ready to do projects, and we've got the 2 projects that were funded, we completed them. And, you know, the next is to decide whether just to rehab that sluice way or put a new one in.
Well, my 2 cents is, since we have so much concrete work with all these, you know, seawalls and the dike, why don't we just buy some forms and hire some more full-time employees that know concrete and make our own concrete crew?
You want me to be the superintendent?
I wish it was that easy.
I know somebody who would do that.
It's only that easy.
We're working on
It's not that
getting the
easy.
sidewalks done. Still, we're at that level.
No, but really, why can't we incorporate our own crews into the DPW and do this ourselves?
Well, the hiring for the general fund, while we can put input, the actual approval for new employees does not rest with the Board of Public Works. It rests with the Board of Selectmen and whatever their budget's gonna allow for an operating standpoint.
How does that? You're an autonomous board that's in charge of the DPW. What does the selectman got to do with anything you do?
Our
Budget.
staffing is determined by them, believe it or not.
We have no involvement whatsoever with the money.
General fund.
They control the contract that we have with our employees. They negotiate it, we don't. We get Tom to put his input in, but if they don't like something he's proposing, they go their own route. That's how.
So you can't just go to town meeting and ask for $10 million more for your budget for salaries, and if town meeting votes it, the selectmen can veto it?
We can submit the request as part of the operating budget, okay? The Board of Selectmen control the agenda. If they do not show to approve it, you would see it as not on the budget, because they have a cap on what the annual budget's gonna be, and we have to fall under our portion of it with the general fund, with the, basically the enterprise divisions, we have a little more control, but that's about
Well,
it.
they must want to save money. I can't see how the dike, that little piece of, that could cost $20 million to fix that. I
No,
mean,
it's, to replace it was like 6 million. To replace, not, you're saying the dike, I'm talking about the dike, the sluice way, and that's what you're referring to, right?
right.
Where the, yeah, so that was 6 million.
To replace the whole dike, to raise it and replace the sluice gates, we're talking the 20 million.
So why do we want to raise it?
Flooding issues, have you seen how close to the top on a storm that the water gets?
So let it flood in the storm, and then 2 days later, it's going back to its regular level.
We're used to flooding down
Tell that to
there.
everyone down
It's,
in
it's like
the
that
Cedar
crazy
Grove.
rule down where I live. You can't build a house and have a cellar anymore. Well, my cellar flooded once in the last 20 years, and I got a pump and pumped it out. 2 hours later, I had a cellar that was functional again. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
If it overtops and floods and then wears out the backside, we've had it happen, remember it took out the water main,
Yeah.
right near, the water main runs right along where the guardrail is on the upstream side there. It flooded, I forget, no name storm, it came
It
over,
flooded
took out the
again.
pavement and then the backside, and they're just afraid the whole thing would go, but, I mean, I don't know if that would happen, but that's,
So what happens? So the gates close on the dike on a flood storm from the Atlantic Ocean, but then it comes up the other way from Bass Creek? Is that where the water comes
no,
from?
it overtops the dike. It
From the
overtopped in
harbor side.
78 and it overtopped in the no-name storm supposedly.
Oh, yeah.
It was in the harbor side. I can attest to what he's saying because I was running recovery crews from Central Vermont Public Service subsequent to that storm when I was working with Com Electric. And that piece of roadway was not passable. We had to loop around and come back.
What elevation is the road?
It's about 10.
10? No, it's gonna be way more than
Well,
that.
there's a benchmark on there, 10.83, something like that.
So and then you have
The
5.5, yeah, so you need a 60, for a 10-foot, for an 11-foot elevation, you need a 16-foot tide to get water to it. We've only had 2 16-foot tides in my life,
Probably the no-name storm. and-
78 and the no-name.
Right, so that's what I said, that's when it overtopped.
We need sidewalks more.
But it's also, it's 7 right down by the Green Harbor Marina. So it floods over there all the time, across through there. But that doesn't take out the.
They just backfilled the whole marina though, what's their elevation now?
They just bumped it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
looks like it was a lot to me.
No, they bumped up a little bit. We're eventually gonna super elevate the road when we have to.
It's all right, let me talk.
Sorry, well,
Yeah, I
back
think,
and forth.
Tommy, would
we're
you
starting to
have-
get redundant. Can we move on to the next piece?
Yep, next
Thank you.
item is Bright Rock Esplanade update. I went to a selectmen's meeting a week ago Monday, that I was told about on Thursday afternoon by a resident, that I needed to be at the selectmen's meeting. We have a schedule that we've been following for this project, that it hasn't come before, a final design has not come before this board yet for approval. So there's really nothing to show yet. We were going to do it in phases. I was told that Thursday that we needed to have the full amount, because they were gonna do the project all at once. All right, so I got the numbers the best that I could. Now it's gone from a phased project that would take 3 to 4 years to complete. Just Friday morning, we finalized, I believe, we gave them the go-ahead to do the final design. Staff met with the consultant. Our plan always was that we were going to try to do both the request money for the project to coincide with us receiving the $500,000 from Complete Streets. That money will be available in October. The plan will being finalized and comes before the board for approval. Then we can do a public meeting with the residents, go over the final plan. We can make a presentation to the Board of Selectmen. And then we'd be prepared in October to go to town meeting. After all the boards that are required to vote on this will be up to speed on this plan. That has been our plan. There is a survey out there right now that's up on our webpage, that's part of the Complete Streets process that we have to complete. So that will be coming down probably within the next week or two. We will be preparing to go before town meeting in the fall with a full plan, a full cost estimate. This enables us to, one of the questions, let me back up just a little. One of the questions that I was asked is, how did it go from 1.7 to $4.7 million? Well, that's because it was phased.
3.7.
3.7, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
So it was phased. So phase one is what we were working on. All right, the bullnose, the sidewalk, the high road, and Island Street. That was phase one. That's what we were working on. And then all of a sudden, giving me 3 days to try to put something together is not fair to the consultant. And on top of it, I can't show a plan that's showing land taking when we haven't spoken with the residents that we may need to take parts of their property. So you can't put a plan up and have a meeting and show that, so let us get the plan going, get it completed. We'll come back to the board. The board will get a full presentation on the plan, all right? The selectmen can be invited, the advisory board can be invited, all the residents of Brant Rock can be invited, and this will, finish everything at the same time and be able to move forward after everybody has had an opportunity to look at it and get their questions.
This summer,
It would be, well, once the plan is available, then we could start the process. I mean, you get more of the residents here in the summertime, the seasonal residents. We could have a meeting and get all the residents' input, and let them see the plan. I mean, that's been the plan all along, was to get a final design, bring it before the board for their approval, and then move forward on that.
And I mean, backing up to the phase situation, in the past, I know we have, you have articulated that, to the town administrator, who, conveys it theoretically to his board. And, you know, I was taken aback. I thought you did a credible job of presenting something in a difficult circumstance when you were at the select board meeting the other night. And I watched it on tape recall. But, you know, what you're proposing right now makes sense to me. Have you had any discussion with the town administrator for the Board of Selectmen's information on this?
Actually, the Board of Selectmen's concerns was the flooding.
Yeah.
And with that dollar figure of $3.7 million, that, I mean, they didn't want to spend that money, or at least one of them didn't want it. There was only two of them there.
Right.
You know, but that meeting wasn't supposed to be a vote for an override.
Okay.
That meeting was supposed to be an informational meeting. And how it got to them taking a vote, because I had asked them, I had told them that we weren't ready until, we weren't prepared, and that we wouldn't be ready until the October town
Well, I
meeting.
thought they did have it on the agenda that way, though, if I remember rightly.
They did.
Yeah, as having the vote, yeah, which I think was certainly not appropriate at that point in time.
Premature?
Huh?
Premature.
To say the least.
Have we looked at a way of funding this?
Well,
I have some ideas that.
Well, we have the 500,000 complete streets.
Yeah.
So it'd be 3.2.
Right, but then the other monies, I don't know where.
Well, we can look at the town's debt falling off.
Right,
Start
but,
to target some of those debts that fall off to see if it would support $1.2 million, $2 million, look for $1 million in free cash.
Yeah.
right,
I
but
mean, the
that,
town has the money.
as I mentioned at the last meeting, the selectmen have now told all the department heads that any project that's over $1 million will have to be a debt exclusion. So, I mean, going forward, we don't have a lot of projects that fall under $1 million, because we've been pushed off and pushed off and pushed off over the
Time to
years.
change the selectmen, that's, you know.
Well, I mean, my question, if you, you all set, John? Before I had one, you know, are they
Even if
extending
I'm all
that to
set,
any?
you'll keep talking, so what's the
I'm sorry.
difference?
Are they extending that to anything that's bonding on our part as part of the enterprise divisions?
It doesn't have anything to do with enterprise, this is all general funds.
So I mean, if we're going out, I mean, usually this is all about the sacred bond rating. And when we go out to bonding, theoretically, they say that affects it, which it shouldn't make any sense, since we have basically rate setting that covers those costs as opposed to the tax base. But I just was curious whether they made that comment or not. They've always made it in the past.
No, I don't remember that being mentioned.
We're all one.
Yeah.
We should get rid of the enterprise accounts. We should,
Well, that's
Yeah.
one opinion.
we
Hey,
should,
can I-
no, really, it's a
can I
cash
talk?
cow for the town.
Since it's maintained the infrastructure, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I didn't ask you to agree, I just said we should do that, you know, there's a way of doing it.
Since you've been recognized once already,
Sure.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Murphy.
Sure.
Eric Murphy, Ocean Street. I'm just curious as to how this got on the Board of Selectmen's hearing notice. You know, I realize we've all been working on it for, you know, a number of years, and it seemed, clearly, Tom wasn't prepared. He didn't have any paperwork or plans or anything, so it was like, I mean, I wouldn't have voted for it either. I didn't see anything that seemed votable. But I'm just wondering how, I mean, Tom himself says he wasn't prepared till 3 days beforehand. How did you get forced to go in front of the selectmen?
The Board of Selectmen set their own agenda. We don't have control over that. And if they request a present for the superintendent to speak on a subject that basically is something that has to be carried out by the Board of Public Works, you know, he's going to be there.
So Mr. Maresco put it on the agenda, or that's who sets the agenda for the Board of Selectmen, I would assume. He put it on the agenda, and you didn't know about it until later, so.
The theory is that the chair has usually got the final authority over this, but I would point out that
The chair wasn't there.
the chair wasn't there because he was away on business.
Yeah, right.
That was-
My understanding
that
is he
was
wanted to
convenient.
postpone it, and that didn't happen.
Well,
No, and
I agree we weren't prepared. You weren't, I mean, it's not the time. It was a silly,
Yeah, they didn't
it
give the
was
time he
supposed to
needed to
be
do
a
it.
discussion, that's what I was under the impression, it
Right.
was a discussion.
Yeah.
All right, and because I had spoken to some residents from the Brant Rock Association, and I had mentioned to them that it wouldn't be a bad idea to find out if the selectmen were supportive of this project. after we found, I happened to call him right after I had got the word at the department head meeting that going forward, everything would be a debt inclusion. So I said, I would recommend you go and talk to the selectmen to get on their agenda to discuss, funding if they're gonna support this. And I think that's how it morphed into this.
I mean, I did, like I said, I did speak with some of the selectmen, and I believe they would be for it had they seen something, but it was essentially 3.7 million for the plan in space, and they were like, we don't vote on plans in space, show the paperwork, have the discussion, so, I mean, I don't think it's dead. I agree with you to come back in October and ask them again, but.
I mean, I didn't even have a conceptual plan to
Yeah,
put
no,
on the
I get
table
you.
because we were working on phase one.
Drawing on a napkin and saying, this is
Right.
what we're looking for. No,
Was
I-
it an attempt just to get the funding shut down, do you think? I mean,
We can
sounds-
You have to be
all,
recognized.
Sorry.
Okay. Mr. Shaughnessy had a
I like
comment.
that, there's a meeting tomorrow night with the planning board about dealing with Bear Rock and that, whatever they're trying to do. I mean, the issue is, we had always talked about taking care of the 1.7, taking care of the southern end with the bullnose, doing the sidewalks where the residents are, and, working to deal with that, because across the street, if they do any kind of business development, that's gonna have to take it. I mean, by me personally, in my mind's eyes, is they wanted to kind of kill this thing. So what we'll do is we'll just make the price double. We can't afford that, and that's the way it is. I would be in favor of going back to the phased approach, because the residents are going to realize it quicker, and that we have the $500,000 coming in from the state, so we're looking at something that we can actually feel and see and deal with it. I always like to see a project done in total, but I don't want to see all or nothing either. I would rather see it go back to the phase approach.
well, I mean, that would be my request of the board, is to go back to that phase request. It's gonna take a little while longer, but I think addressing that bullnose, the High Road and Island Street, and sidewalks on the east side, it puts a big change in that neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
It
I
calms
worked
the
with
traffic.
Eric 2002,
20 years, so yeah.
yeah, by 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, we got the top part done, and then all of a sudden, they put the brakes on it. So it's like, I'm in favor of not having this, something that we can't fund, to something that we can fund over time and get it done.
20 years.
When at the department head meeting, when I heard that going forward, anything $1 million or more was a debt exclusion, I kind of got the feeling that that was an easy way of saying you're not going to get what you want.
But I think backing up to what Bob is, and I completely concur with the idea that, I would rather see us make some progress with funding that's available now, because, we've been through before where all of the dollars disappeared, like in 2009. We don't need to be in that situation again. And, I think it is appropriate both, I guess the question I'd have is, do we want to have like an informational meeting prior to getting to the Board of Selectmen at some location where we can basically pack the room, so to speak, and go over the approach and why we think that's the better approach, and then to come back to the Board of Selectmen. And then that's an item that, we don't have a lot of time between now and the close of the annual town meeting. Did we have this project in the capital budget?
No, it
phased
was
approach?
not, only because we didn't have a design.
Because, okay, so I mean, basically, it is something that if we needed to, we could plug it into this STM if we can pull it off fast enough. I guess I'm asking that as a question, not making it as a statement.
That's a possibility. I can reach out to the consultant and ask him if he has enough
See if
time.
we can, but that would just be for the phased approach, I'm talking about.
Right,
the
exactly.
Phase one.
I mean, he's already been working on phase one,
Right.
so for him to continue on that would be a lot easier to go back and try to do
Yeah,
the
and I
whole
think that's
What's
project.
the
phase
approach we
one
should-
cost?
Phase one was 1.7
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think it was ballpark.
With
That was your
500.
first number, 1.7.
Yeah,
Yeah, 500,000 from complete street,
right,
so.
which means you're budgeting 1.2, which is, and,
Which is more likely to pass now.
Yeah.
Something that's $3 million in with the pie in the sky. As Eric said, it's like,
Yeah.
we want something that we can actually see.
Dave, can I say something?
Sure you can, Steve.
Yes, you
Speed
may.
lights, 50 Central Street. So I have to agree with Bob on this one, they made it into a political issue.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, get debt exclusion, gonna vote it down. So if you bring it into the phase plan, are you gonna try to do it from money that's in the budget? Because if you're gonna go through a debt exclusion, you might as well just, you're killing the whole project.
Well,
It's not gonna happen.
You're not gonna get three of them.
You're not gonna get it to pass in the townwide election.
And that's what made me think when they told us that's the direction the town was going.
Oh, they turned it into a political issue, there's no doubt about it. That was a setup, that meeting, there's no
I
doubt
mean, you
about
got the school out there now, and you've got the 3 buildings that, including this one, that, you know, so is the appetite there for a debt exclusion?
it. I don't think it ever is.
Right.
You know, I mean, when we had the big one, we had, 6,000 voters turn out, and it almost lost, you know, so I just can't see how, with the kind of money that our budget has increased over the last 10 or 20 years, that there isn't enough surplus in there to do a phased project like this. And I don't know what part of the project they're scared of, other than the money, but maybe they feel something about major redevelopment in Brett Rock might tear it all back up again, right? You build it, and then you gotta tear it all back up to change.
Well, that was a question, is what's the plan down there?
Right.
And then, again, then the next question was, what about the drainage? What are you gonna do? You know, so those were the 2 elephants in the room.
We're always gonna have drainage issues because it's a low spot.
Right.
I mean, the issue is, the phased approach is to deal with the traffic, to deal with the sidewalks, and deal with public safety issues.
I just have a quick question. So they said because of the flooding, they didn't want to do it. Does the salt water, I
Well,
know nothing about, does it eat away at the asphalt or concrete or
Well,
whatever?
no, it's more the flooding and where does the water go? How are we going to address the water issues? I mean, at some point after the storm, if it's a high tide, there's nowhere for the water to drain out because all the outlets are all surcharged. So, one thing was to have big pumps and pump the water back up over the seawall. But you can't do that until after the storm is over, and you gotta wait for a low tide. You know, so it's just a big circle, just keeps coming back on you. So until and I don't think we have enough capacity to hold that water for any period of time anywhere.
And one point I'd like to add to Tom's is, if you add in the cost of a pumping system that can manage that stuff, you just bumped that 3.1 up quite a bit
Yeah.
more.
So you're like $10 million plus, maybe 20.
That's how much it is.
Oh, yeah, pump station and with the,
Yeah, but
with the dike.
2 days later, the water drains
No, I
back
get
into the
that.
marsh anyway.
I mean,
Yeah, so,
any pump system you put in there would have to have basically a diesel generator type backup, which adds to the cost of just a straight electric driven pump, just because if you
yeah,
live down that area, you know the
that's gonna get
weakness.
rid of the water quicker than waiting for the tide, obviously, but is it worth the big money? So,
No.
when you do this phased approach, the next time you submit this to get this thing in real action, why can't you guys just submit it to like capital budget, bring it to town meeting, like you're gonna do with the other one, the capital wouldn't approve, and bring it there anyway, and get up and let's vote it from operating budget.
We bring our requests to capital. We have to have them submitted by the end of October, all right? It goes to the selectmen. So
That's too much.
capital doesn't decide,
But anybody can put an article in town meeting for
Oh,
funding,
yeah.
anyone can do that.
but again, if we get punished, if we get that extra money, because they'll look somewhere else to take it
The
away from
operating
us.
budget.
So we get punished at some point for going,
Well, there's political repercussions at the voter booth when the roads aren't passable, because they won't give you money to do it, right? So eventually they have to back off and fund what has to be done, right? And in the enterprise accounts, you guys really have control of that. I don't understand why a long time ago you don't get your own bank account, your own secretary, send your own bills out, and cut out paying them money for their office workers to get paid.
Because the enterprise article as it passed the State House and was voted into town does not provide for that. It provides for those services to come from the town through indirect costs.
What you
It's a
have
rip-
to
it's
do
a
with this
rip-off.
indirect cost?
It's a ripoff.
Yeah, I'm not saying it isn't, John. You're speaking to the choir.
No.
No,
I've said
I'm there
it.
with
Long
you.
before you were here, I've said it.
It's frustrating that he gets
And I did it as a-
900,000 to put bathrooms in the town hall, and we can't, 900,000, he said was extra money, and it was
Left
for
over from the
bathrooms in
last
the town
override.
hall.
How does 3
Yeah,
bathrooms
it was
cost
more-
$900,000? Give me a friggin'
And we
break.
can't get sidewalks and things we need, it's frustrating that,
We understand, and we're frustrated when we can't get the funding to do the work
We've been
ourselves.
pushing this for a long time. We want to get it done. But I don't see it as doing it as a total project.
20 years though, I mean, I didn't
Right.
realize you guys have been
Oh, yeah.
talking, that's a long time.
I've been on this board for 20 years.
So,
Mr. Pesovich, I'll recognize you now.
so the money we voted a year and a half ago for the design work or so, I don't know, some of us expected that was already gonna be done. So when is it gonna be done now? When is that design work gonna be done? And is it for all phases or just one phase?
Well, that's what we have to go back. Right now, I have working on a single project. Do we go back and do it phased so that it takes a little longer to finish the project? But it's more,
Design's ready.
yeah, the design is almost ready now for that phase.
For phase one?
For
Phase
And
one.
it was,
And
what
who
was
told
it, what
you
was
that-
it, 300,000 that we voted for that design?
It was
In that ballpark, yeah.
180, I think.
180, yeah.
wasn't it?
God would have the handle, I don't
And that
know.
was for all phases or just?
That was for the full design.
And the phase one is, you said it's the bullnose and the sidewalks,
And the 2 intersections
on the high end of Ocean
in Island.
and at Island Street. Okay,
Anything but the.
that's phase one.
Can we know the cost of that? Phase 1,
1.7.
1.7?
Of which 500,000 could be from complete
I
streets.
mean, if the history of this, if we go way back, we had a design.
Yeah.
And it was changed 2 more times. So then we were out there all the way back to square one and redesigning the whole thing. So
And who redesigned it, the planning board?
No,
the decisions of we had a couple of meetings down at the Council on Aging, neighborhood meetings, that
2016.
no one could agree.
At that time,
There was 2 or 3 different factions, everyone wanted something
Right.
different.
I remember.
So each time we'd go to a meeting, we'd leave with a different plan. And we'd go back again and that one would change. So it was,
Well, that's the elected board's job to weed out 3 different people who want 3 different things and decide what they want, right? To decide what plan you're gonna give them.
So just to finish what I was saying, so that at least the phase one stuff will be ready.
yes.
This
Well, I
imminent, I mean, in the next month or 2 or something,
asked the board tonight,
yeah.
previously, if they wanted me to proceed with a full-scale project or the phase project. So if they want to take a vote on that, and I can proceed. And David mentioned that you might, want to have a public meeting.
Yeah, I think at some point prior to town meeting, we should be
Oh,
having a
yes.
public meeting to present all of this stuff to the general public that is not filtered in any way, shape, or form. Those who wish to attend can attend, and, they'll be informed at town meeting, hopefully they show up, and
Is
they
that a
make their
phase
votes
one?
heard.
Phase one?
For the phase one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure that people understand that, it's a step project when typically a lot of our DPW projects, as anybody knows, have gone through phases. The work we did up the hills with 2 phases, elsewhere, with water projects and the like, we've done those in phase situations. And we have to
Dave, I
continue
think
that
your
way.
priority should be, number 1, is to make sure whatever you're gonna do, that the funding gets put in front of town meeting, not as an override. Because it will not pass as an override at the voter vote. So that's the number 1 priority, to put it on
And that
town
means we
meeting.
need to find approximately $300,000 of additional funding beyond the $500,000 from complete streets so that we drive this thing down under $1 million.
I mean, we could,
And that's short
Cash,
money.
you got it in
Yeah,
free cash.
That's nothing.
Well, the free cash is
So, I
gonna be an
mean,
issue
so,
to get it.
so
down.
Tom's looking for direction from the
Yeah.
board. We should make a motion saying which way we wanna go.
Well, I think the sense of the, I'll ask for a sense of the board. The sense of the board, I would believe is, and the motion should be that, we continue as we had planned before this issue was basically
Correct.
twisted by the selectmen's choice to turn it into a full, complete project done in a $3 million odd price. We go back to the 1.7 and proceed as we had originally planned, which we think is more viable than their approach.
If I.
And I agree with that.
Go ahead, Tom.
Where it isn't an agenda item under, can you just, maybe just give the authorization to the superintendent?
Yeah, we'll give it the authorization, but
Proceed.
the issue is get it under $1 million. We still have chapter 90 money we can still.
Well, I think the authorization
Yeah,
will be, please continue to develop and plan this project in exactly the manner in which the board previously promoted, which is in the 3 phases. Phase 1 being $1.7 million, deferred by 500,000, reduced by 500,000 from complete streets. Balance to be found later.
Can I make a quick request, if I may, Mr. Chairman? On the east or north side of Esplanade, there's a lot of stuff that washes in, gravel, sand and stuff. It comes down the alleyway by the Jetty Restaurant and the side streets. And that's what really makes people have to divert out into the street to walk along that side of the Esplanade. So if there's any way to clean that up, before the summer season comes around, that would make a big difference.
That's easy.
Yep, that's an operational issue, and I will leave
Yep.
it to the superintendent to determine the best way to tackle it. And
Well,
to see if there's some way, basically, if we can barrier,
Well, some of the overtopping
yeah,
has resulted in a lot of that material being down there, and with the new seawall, it's helped a little bit. The elevation is up,
yeah.
helps somewhat, but we still get debris
Right,
in there.
yeah.
I mean, at the bottom of the high road this morning after the high tide, there was a lot of
Now-
stone and stuff there, so.
Is the current accountant
What?
There's a porta potty.
treating
What?
storm top, winter storm topping over differently than our prior accountant did, where they wouldn't allow that to be treated under snow and ice?
Right,
Okay, so we can clean that up as part of the snow and ice budget.
during the
which we're
winter
allowed to over.
season, yes, that
Okay.
falls under snow. and
That's a
ice.
help, at least,
Yes, the
as
storm.
opposed to prior to that.
Definitely, but that's pretty much it for me. If there's
Okay.
anything else on the Brant Rock.
I have
Does anybody
nothing-
else have anything to say?
I have one thing to say, I just have a concern, I like where you're going with the 3 phases. Probably if we have to bring it to, like, a vote on a ballot for $1.2 million, like Steve says, it's probably not gonna pass, and if you're gonna have to go to a ballot, you might as well go to the ballot for the whole project.
No, I don't disagree with that.
So it's either, like you said, either keep it down below $1 million or $1.2 million, or whatever the number is, and do 3 of those.
See, one of the
Or ask for it
problems,
all, you
If I
can't
might on
do,
that.
you're not gonna be able to do three asks.
Well, the one thing I
Problem.
don't disagree completely with what you're saying there, simply because when we look at the current budgeting for capital projects that we're already carrying under bonding, you have retirements taking place. When you break it down into a budgeting situation where, like, you're doing, 1.2 million 7 million this time, and then maybe another billion the next one, and the balance the third one, you may be having budgeting coming off of the existing bonding
That's what I
that
said.
lets things offset. John made that point earlier. So you do have a certain flow. By having a lower number, you may have a better shot at getting that through an override than the higher number.
Yeah.
one of the things to keep in mind is that $500,000 still has to be included
Right.
in the cost. So if we get it, so if it's if we try to get it under $1 million, we still have to take into consideration the 500,000.
Right.
I mean, we've already cut from the project having to move the electrical,
Right.
all the poles and stuff. What we did was we kicked the road out to the
Right,
middle a
moved it
little
around
bit
to
more.
give the
so that
passage for the
you can have the
handicap.
telephone poles on the backside of the sidewalks.
But I mean,
I just have one more quick question.
Well, I just
Go
want to
ahead.
follow up with Tom. I mean, we were talking at $1.7 million, okay, of which 500,000 is from complete streets, okay? And that is not, You know, that's not coming out of our debt service.
No, but it has to be included in the bonding,
Right. okay.
because it's
So that would be-
reimbursable.
Right, you know, it's reimbursable. That gets us down to a theoretical 1.2, chasing for an override. And if we can come up with $300,000 more, now we're down to 900,000, but we're back to the same old issue we always have is, can we get that approved by capital budget and the Board of Selectmen? And if we can't get it approved by a capital budget and the Board of Selectmen, then we have to basically fight the battle on town meeting floor. You know, I mean, I just want you folks to all be aware of that. That's where the rubber meets the road. If you recall last spring's town meeting, you know, and this is something that is town code. Spending money on unpaved private ways requires a specific vote by town meeting to authorize public funding to be spent on a private way. This is a comparable type of thing where you have to basically say to the selectmen, you know, this has to get done, and this is where the source of money is. You know, what do you mean you won't approve it?
Yeah, what right do they have to set an arbitrary limit like that?
The select people,
The budgeting for the town is the authority of the selectmen. It's not
with the
our-
Board of Public Banking.
It's not
Yeah.
statutory.
All right, the only question I have is, so if you guys, that was the original plan to do it in phases, who changed it and was forcing you to do it in one phase, and do they have the authority to push you back to that since?
No.
No, if I may.
Yes, you may.
The Board of Selectmen had decided this is how they wanted to proceed. So we're kind of restricted to what our ability is, where they control the purse strings.
When they make a request, we try to comply and provide them the information they have. Obviously, in the circumstances Tom was in, he couldn't pull the information together. Now, and I mean, do you think that might have been planned that way?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I know too, in defense of the selectmen, that they were trying to push this for this town meeting because of the need for it to go to the electorate. So it needs to have a vote of the townspeople. So they're looking at the end of April to follow a vote of town meeting. If it was a positive vote, then it would go on the ballot. And it would have to pass by a majority in order to, I think, what is it, 2/3 of town meeting and a
Yeah.
majority?
Yeah, but they knew it was never gonna leave the Board of Selectmen. I mean, that was the setup.
Are they trying, looking for another override?
Well, that's what they said had to be done. This was
Anything more
the
than $1 million
process.
Huh?
Anything over $1 million, this is the
No, I
process.
understand that, but the thing is, that's not the only project. What other projects do they have that they wanna go for an override?
I don't think they have the nerve to enforce what they told them, that every $1 million project is gonna have an override. There'd be some people getting voted out of office.
Let's put it this way. Any of our projects over $1 million probably will be forced to an override. Anything they want, different animal.
Well, they have plenty of money in the operating budget. It's ridiculous, the kind of money they have nowadays. I think the first year I read for selectmen, the budget was like 50 million, what's it now, 120? Every titled job in this town now has an assistant. They're just finding ways to get rid of that money every time they get a 3%. 3% every year of 100 and something million is a lot of money to increase your budget every year. So,
Okay?
somebody has to sharpen their pencil somewhere, and I
Where's the
think that the voters at town meeting are pretty sensible when it comes to stuff like this. And I think you would have a chance of getting the phased way of doing it, where you only need, 900,000. The problem is, we know what's gonna happen. They're gonna have the town accountant get up and say, okay, if you vote this in now after we already did the budget, now what are we gonna do? That's what they're gonna say.
I mean,
The
last
same
year-
old story they always do when you try to add something on top of what they've already done. But they have free cash that they can do this
Well,
with.
the strength of their argument will be determined by whatever is declared free cash when we get into town
Well, last
meeting.
year, we got an increase in our budget of .007.
Yeah, for
But that's
DPW.
ridiculous, when their budget increased about 4%.
Okay, and, you know, I'm not to, I think we're starting to kind of loop back and get away from
Right.
it. So I would move that, you know, you know the direction we're going in, and I think it's the right one. You're comfortable with it, John?
Yeah, I'm fine,
Okay,
yeah.
Bob, you're comfortable with it? Okay. We appreciate your time and your input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for February 6th, 2023. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night. Thank you, folks.
There's enough paperwork, well,
David,
Yep, I know.